I am speaking to you from the Cabinet Room at 10 Downing Street. This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received. Consequently, this country is at war with Germany.
I don't want to harbour an individual that will rob me and rob his business partner. People in life, do you want to have somebody around you that you don't trust?
Welcome. I apologize for the dramatic ass intro, but this is maybe the most important video I'll ever make, people, in my life. It is, of course, coming up to 2 years since the beginning of the tragic Filthy Fellas civil war, and I feel like enough time has passed by now. We are long overdue a retrospective. This is obviously a topic very near and dear to my heart. As a stan of the show since I was really in like year 9, I feel like I'm uniquely positioned to guide us through this tumultuous time in history and, you know, search for the truth. That's what we're looking for today. Now, to really understand the war, we need to go right back to the very beginning, not just to that day of Poet's fateful tweet, but to the very genesis, the inception of Filthy Fellas. So, you know, get comfortable, get a hot drink, maybe a matcha, whatever you prefer, and let's begin. Our story begins in the 14-15 Premier League season. Of course, baby Harry Kane is having his breakout year. Welcome, Harry. Lampard is at City for some reason, who knows, and also Charlie Adam is banging halfway line goals. So it's a strange year. And as fate would have it, somewhere in North London, in the Emirates Stadium, in a box, the two main characters of our story are meeting for the first time. That is, of course, Mr. Poet's Corner UK and Mr. Tigo Seagull. Now they meet, they're like, hey, we should make a football show together. And ladies and gentlemen, Filthy Fellas is born. Now, I know what you're thinking, this show, it does sound like some kind of high budget adult gay films. No, it was actually a weekly football show where a cast of friends would rant about the past weekend's results, you know, sometimes in pairs, sometimes alone, sometimes hybrid, one person at home, one in the office, you know, but this was basically the format of the show for the first 6 years. The cast obviously changes every season, you know, new stars are born, people leave the show for various reasons, production levels up every year, the views increase, the buzz around the show increases, and slowly but surely, the show by 2020 has become one of the biggest, you know, online football shows in the UK. How successful was the show? Well, in the 1920 season, an average episode would get about maybe like 60 to 100k views, which for a weekly football show is very, very respectable. But obviously, when you have a cast of like 10 people and you have like 2 professional videographers and editors and like a studio space, unless you're trying to pay everybody a Pepe's chicken and rice box for every episode, there's no point basically. So at this point, no one is making money off the show. The only people getting paid from the show are obviously the people involved in production, and the production is covered by a company called Rewind, who Mr. Tigo Seagull works for. We will learn more about them later in the program, don't worry. No one's making money off the show, but you know, everyone's popularity is kind of increasing off the show, so it's beneficial. Now, as we enter the new decade, the 2020s, you know, Filthy Fellas looks set to really like just increasing in popularity to really take over, become one of the biggest shows in the country. But then, of course, something big happened. On the other side of the world, 5,000 miles away, something happened that would change the course of everyone's lives forever.
But what happened is the bat bit a possum, and the possum...
I'm following.
Oh yeah, so what happened is the bat bit the possum and someone ate the possum. And then that's how you get coronavirus. So why are you taking off your clothes? So it's a delicate dish.
COVID was obviously a very unprecedented time for every industry, but if you were a content creator, if you were an online show, you had to adapt or you were basically cooked, bro. Obviously with the lockdown and the social distancing guidelines, Filthy Fellas as it had been produced before, wasn't able to be made. You know, people couldn't come into the office. So Tigo, this is what we have to give him, his condoms. He came up with a way to keep the show going, but virtually. And so Filthy at 5 lockdown lives were born. Now, as someone who was in sixth form during this time, well, I mean, I'm honestly like, I get emotional speaking about this time. Wow, bro, literally just sitting at home doing nothing. I would wake up, I would have my outfit pre-planned, ready for 5 p.m. When 5 p.m. struck, I was tuned in. And that's the thing, like, this is when you really start to realize, like, this is actually kind of like the best show in the world, because it's kind of a cheat code as well, because these men can really talk about anything. Like, it can be like any combination of these people talking about literally any topic in the world, and it's actually the funniest shit in the world.
Big up Joe Black. But yeah, it was nuts, man. It was
Hey! Hey! There's a bee! Flipping hell, buff, man. Oh, I've had a howler, buff.
But yeah, where a lot of other football shows, they kind of lost momentum or like died completely during COVID, Filthy Fellas, somehow they actually gained momentum through this period, which is kind of like crazy. And when the lockdowns eased in like mid-summer 2020, they really hit the ground running. The years from like 2021 to 2024-ish, this is what I would call prime Filthy Fellas, bro. They adapted the online Zoom format into like an in-person podcast kind of show. And when I tell you, there's like a 3-year stretch where every single episode is just box office, unmissable TV.
When I was younger, I used to have waves, bro.
Are you brushing?
No way. Yeah, wave.
How did you?
Yeah, wave.
Around this time too, it's when you start seeing more of the business infrastructure take place around the show as well. Like you start seeing like merch deals, you know, like water bottles. I myself, I'm the proud owner of a Filthy Fellas water bottle, thank you. Brand deals, live shows. You could tell that the show was starting to become more commercially successful. Like they were starting to find more ways to make money. Actually, an important part of the like economy of the show is Tigo's company Rewind. They're like a creative agency, production company kind of thing. They also produced multiple other shows for different brands, most notably JD Sports. Basically what Tigo would do is he would just put all the Filthy Fellas onto all these JD shows, and that was basically a way of like making sure that they could get paid, even though like he couldn't really afford to pay them through Filthy Fellas revenue. JD Sports, trust me, they can pay. Towards the end of this era as well, like 2023, 24-ish, they started getting player interviews as well. And bro, when I tell you, these episodes used to go intergalactically viral. These 3 podcasts, yeah, these 3 were released within like I think a 3 or 4 month stretch of each other, and they've all broken 1 million views, bro. I don't think you understand how insane it is for a 2-hour-long podcast of just people talking to break 1 million views. Like this is when I would say they were kind of probably the most influential football show in the country, like mainstream or like just online. And this is the kind of point where I thought personally they were kind of like too big to fail at this point. Like they'd reached that like escape velocity you needed to just like completely take off. But of course, people, the only thing that we can of course come to expect is the unexpected. On July 4th, 2024, D-Day as I like to call it, the unexpected, it happened. People always say that they remember exactly where they were when the Twin Towers fell. Well, me myself, unfortunately, I missed that whole situation by a couple of months. However, in many ways, this was my own personal 9/11. So I actually empathize. Tigo hadn't appeared on the past 2 episodes of Filthy Fellas, which was kind of weird because he'd been on every single episode for the past 5 years, and for them to just not acknowledge his absence at all, that's when alarm bells started ringing. And sure enough, Poet's tweets confirmed my greatest fears. And now we arrive, of course, at the most complex chapter in our story, the fallout, the chapter that is honestly is still kind of unfolding to this day. Shortly after Poet's tweet, Tigo goes on his social media and he basically confirms that yes, he is no longer going to be a part of the show. He admits in his statement that mistakes were made and he can't defend a few of the things that went down. Now obviously this is quite cryptic and like ambiguous, but me as a real podcast enjoyer of 10+ years, trust me, if your favorite podcast ever breaks up and the reason is kind of ambiguous, it's money. It's money. I'm just telling you now, it's money. Money is the root of all evil and also the root of all podcast drama. So allegations eventually surfaced that Tigo had in fact been stealing money from the show, allegedly £200,000 apparently. And this all came to light when a popular podcast production company spearheaded by, jump scare alert, Stephen Bartlett, was about to partner with Filthy Fellas on a landmark deal, but they spotted some irregularities when they were looking into the financials of the show. So with these allegations kind of picking up traction on Twitter a bit, people like flogging Tigo, he drops 2 massive threads denying these allegations. I was never the personal beneficiary of any mismanagement. He reiterates how much he paid out to the cast, how he always prioritized them for any jobs. Like I mentioned before with like the JD stuff. And now we get to the important stuff. So he mentions that the Filthy Fellas channel was not commercialized until summer 2020. Ads were not turned on until summer 2020. And when they finally did decide to turn ads on, Poet and Tigo initially, they split this money. So the way it works is Tigo would receive the check from YouTube into his own personal Monzo. He would split this and then send half to Poet. And he attaches screenshots of him doing this for every monthly YouTube paycheck from summer 2020 till January 2022. In January of 2022, he then switches the account linked to the YouTube from his personal account to his production company's account, Rewind. So now the money was no longer going directly to him, it was going to his production company. Rewind at this point is jointly owned by Tigo and a man called Nigel, who is very important to this story, but unfortunately I can't find any pictures of him online, so let's just say this is him. Anyway, the main point of contention from what I can see that's actually like substantiated in like these initial allegations is, what was Tigo doing with his half of the bread from summer 2020 to January 2022? Because it's very clear from this clip, which is a recorded conversation that was in a bouncer video between Poet, Nigel and Tigo, that Poet and Nigel were completely unaware that he was just kind of keeping his half of the money in this period.
Yeah, so alright, cool. So there was a period where money was coming in and I was screenshotting how much it was and say, Poet, here's half. Every single time. Where was the other half? It was obviously going into my account. Obviously going into my account. Bro.
And that's nothing, by the way. People, in the research for this video, bro, I had to watch like 3 hours of bouncer play dirty videos, bro. I feel like genuinely, I feel like I'm owed compensation. Seriously, I'm not one to like beg for lies or anything, but bro, you're getting real investigative journalism right now, bro. The bouncer video, it did raise a lot of questions. One of the main ones being, can bouncer read to a key stage 2 level? No, I'm joking. Why were Poet and Nigel so like caught off guard that Tigo was keeping his half of the money? Clearly because they didn't know that this was happening. Well, Tigo addresses this in his threads. He says that it had always been his plan for Filthy Fellas to stand on its own, to be self-sufficient, to not have to rely on money from his own production company, Rewind. Because fast forward a few years to 2024, the show had got so successful at this point that the big money deal, the big Stephen Bartlett care package, it was about to land. But Tigo, he openly admits that he didn't feel like people in his own organization, Rewind, had done enough to be considered part of the deal. Because, you know, obviously, like, the more people that you include in the deal, the thinner everybody's piece of the pie gets. So it's business. It's business. Obviously, Tigo brings this up to Nigel, and Big Nigel's not happy about this. He's not happy at all. And he says eventually that Big Nigel was brought into the deal. I can imagine this being a very awkward conversation because obviously people at Rewind are probably thinking of like, guys, hey, the Stephen Bartlett money is about to land. Hey guys, we're about to be rich. And Tigo's probably looking at them like, who's we? Guys, this is for me and the boys. I don't know why you think you're a part of this, but yeah, the friction of this deal negotiation and also the missing funds from summer 2020 to January 2022, this probably caused a big rift in their relationship. A couple of weeks after Tigo's initial big threads, we do finally hear from Poet on his podcast, and he addresses these claims straight up. And he basically like says what I've been saying, that it's honestly more of an issue between Tigo and Rewind than Tigo and himself.
I own Filthy. Rewind's owned by Nigel and the man in question at some point but isn't anymore. And then other guys are the staff members. If he got fired, how could I have done it? If you want to talk to the person that fired them, I'll give you the details. You can ask them why he's gone. It's got nothing to do with me. He's upset somebody else. And guess what? Nobody likes him. Not just me, nobody likes him.
But clearly, Poet feels like some of the money that has been misappropriated or like unaccounted for was due to be his.
Read the tweet. 10 years from now, you won't feel bad about the tweet. But robbery, you'll feel bad about. So if people are upset that I don't want to harbor an individual that will rob me and rob his business partner, if you are upset that I don't want to keep that around me, it makes me question your decisions in life, people.
And that's like the main point of contention I got from the threads. Tigo does do a lot of adding context about how towards the end of negotiation, he was running at a loss, his production company was running at a loss, and he always like prioritized everyone. He always had everyone's best interests at heart, but he never explicitly addresses stealing any money that wasn't meant for him. And honestly, we'll probably never know the exact ins and outs of exactly what happened, because that's just, we're not lawyers, unfortunately. But yeah, from this initial information, that's what I kind of pieced together. But of course, there is one very important part of this initial equation that we have not addressed yet, which is of course the man himself, SG with the glasses.
I ain't got time. No. I'm your husband, you ain't my wife. My parents are African. So I sleep up yours, you don't sleep up mine.
And obviously I've said throughout this video, Filthy Fellas, you know, our cast are just full with world-class talent. But I'm not gonna lie, every world-class team, you need a go-to guy. You need a go-to guy. Listen, those 10-11 Barcelona teams, it's one of the best players in world football history. But when you need a goal, whose feet does the ball land at? You know, it's not a question. It's not a question. And for Filthy, this man was Specs Gonzalez, undisputably. In my opinion, the funniest man in the country, and has been for like 10 years. Ever since he stepped in front of a camera, this guy's like, just like generational box office talent. And Tigo and Specs' relationship has always been very, very, very solid. They worked together from the moment Specs first started in like content creation, the industry, to all the way up to the point that he was like one of the biggest like influencers, if you want to call him that, in the country. Kind of like the last two people you would expect to have beef, but something got in between the two of them. At the point of Poet's first tweet, Specs hadn't been on a Filthy Fellas episode for 5 months, and the last No Rules was about the same time, like 5-6 months-ish. So what was happening, you know, where was he? Well, on the same podcast where Poet addresses the Tigo allegations, he also mentions how him and Specs' relationship is actually very good. He said that the two of them are on good terms and he's going to be returning back to the show very soon, now that the man in question is out of the picture, the man in question being Mr. Tigo Siegel. So he's basically insinuating that the reason why Specs wasn't around is because Tigo like wronged him, or like he just wasn't fucking with Tigo.
I was on the phone to Specs yesterday and we were laughing, which leads me to believe I can't have a problem with Specs. That guy's my friend. I'm telling you, if you've seen the videos on my Instagram, they're back around. They've come back around when someone's left. So we've got all the cast members coming back, so making sure people get paid adequately. Everything is fair now.
And again, there's actually a voice note from one of these terrible bouncer videos that actually does kind of confirm this.
Chatting shit. You fucking ruin relationships with Specs. You ruin relationships with PK. It's never your fault. I'm pissed off. It's not your fault. Nigel's pissed off. It's not your fault. No, it's never your fault. Tigo, today, you will learn it's your fucking fault.
And initially I saw this, I was like, okay, that's pretty damning. However, Specs would never return to Filthy Fellas. From the summer of 2024 till right up to the end of the year, he was nowhere to be seen. So what was Poet talking about? Was Poet misled? Was his relationship with Specs actually as solid as he made it appear? Well, we wouldn't get an answer to this question for several months, but in the meantime, after a couple of weeks of, you know, like crazy allegations, conspiracy theories, people analyzing different theories, people like, you know, picking sides, eventually the noise quieted down a bit, and, you know, as it always does, life goes on. I'd probably say that the general consensus at this time was kind of split 50-50. I'd say about half of people did think Tigo was evil and he did steal the money, and then half the people, they weren't really believing what Poet had to say. They didn't trust Poet, so they believed Tigo was innocent. Well, regardless of this, we wouldn't hear from Tigo till way into next year. He was just exiled in the mountains or something. I don't know where he went, but he was never to be seen. He went ghost on social media. But Filthy Fellas, however, continued. It endured, just without Tigo. You know, Tigo was a big part of the show. He was an important part of the show, so understandably there were some growing pains. But you know, when you have a panel of like all-star talent, people adapted very quickly. The show was still like very funny, obviously, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit chaotic. Without Tigo to kind of like moderate the discussion, it was more of a free-for-all than ever, and this led to some people saying on a now infamous Ola Aina interview that Tigo deserved the money that he was stealing because it was just kind of an unorganized mess. But the show was still very funny, and all things considered, like they were doing a kind of good job to like keep the boat afloat, you know? But there were still some unsolved mysteries further afield, people. The case of Specs' whereabouts. The case of Tigo's whereabouts, obviously. Was he in the mountains? The case of, interestingly, Mileage UK's whereabouts, because Miles actually did appear on like 2 or 3 of the episodes post Tigo's dismissal, but then ever since then, he was nowhere to be seen. Where was Mileage UK? Where were these 3 men who had given us many an iconic No Rules show? Where were they? Well, we would soon find out, ladies and gentlemen. we would soon find out. It was a new year, the clocks had just struck 2025, and a certain someone previously thought to be banished, living in a mountain somewhere, returned to our screens. Listen, Tigo's return, well, there's a lot of things I could say about the video that Tigo decided to come back with, but I feel like it's kind of just best to play it with no context. Remember, this is the visionary mind behind Filthy Fellas, one of the most successful football shows of this generation. And I just want to say, I have done nothing to this video. I haven't doctored it or edited it in any way. This is how it was initially presented to us. So if we could just roll the tape. Immediately, it's a lot of camera angles. Tigo, I'm not gonna lie, I never want to see you from this angle ever again, bro. See, it's a lot of edit. Oh,
Siegel, and this is from my left.
Okay.
A brand new video and podcast platform focused on the most important voices in the UK. I'm back. You've got questions, so fuck it. Ask me. Ask whatever you want in these comments. Anything.
Anything.
I'm sorry you had to do the summer without me. It must have been bang average.
Bang average.
Really don't know what you've got until it's gone. I've got a few pages in most of your favorite content creators' live stories. The plans for this platform are the best and most ambitious that I have ever been a part of.
This is my favorite part of this video. Listen to what this man said.
Most I've ever been a part of. Some of the most inspirational, hilarious, informative, motivational formats I've ever produced.
Some of the most inspirational, hilarious, informative, and motivational format. What kind of, bro? Listen, I've watched a lot of Filthy Fellas top 10 left back drafts in my life, yeah? I've enjoyed them, I've laughed. I can't say I've ever felt inspired or motivated by watching any of them, bro. So I don't know what was going on in this video. Someone was rinsing that free ChatGPT subscription, bro, because Tigo, this was a mess, bro. Honestly, like, when I first saw this video, yeah, I was like, what? Oh, he 100% stole that money, bro. Only a thief would make a video like this, bro. Seriously, I've never seen you act like this in my entire life. I watched like 600 hours of content of this guy. Like, what are you doing? Oh, a week after this shambolic video, he does drop a really long Q&A where he addresses like all the allegations. Unfortunately for me and the writing of this video, this has been like completely scrubbed from YouTube. It only exists on like short TikTok clips now.
Did you steal money from Filthy or the panel? No. How do you feel that the people you worked with for so long never came out and defended you even once? I did get backed. I got backed in private, but I also got backed in public in certain instances.
But I did watch that video a couple of times, and one of the main things I took from it was kind of what I was saying about Rewind, bro. He was like, oh, everyone at Rewind is kind of fucking useless, bro. He kept saying, oh, they couldn't get the show any brand deals, they didn't deserve the Stephen Bartlett bread. It's like, oh, okay. So Tigo was really not fucking with people at Rewind, and Rewind were not fucking with Tigo. So this is honestly, it furthers my conspiracy that this has way more to do with the internal workings of whatever was going on at Rewind than anything to do with Tigo and Poet. But yeah, a couple of weeks go by and I'm like, wow, so Tigo, this new channel is kind of trash. Like, you kind of flopped this. But then he saved it. At the last minute, he saved it. He drops a reunion, Specs Gonzalez and Mileage UK, and I'm not gonna lie, it was nice to see my trio back together. They did address a little bit about the controversy, but they kind of just laughed it off and it was like, whatever. But this did answer a few of the like unanswered questions we had, because clearly Tigo and Specs' relationship wasn't as fractured as Poet made it seem. I'm not gonna lie, for Poet to announce that he was on good terms with Specs and that Specs' return would be imminent, and then we don't see him for months, and the next time we see him, he's grinning ear to ear with your #1 enemy. That's very sinister for Poet. It's very sinister for Poet. And it gets more sinister. I'm not gonna lie, it does get more sinister, because Miles, he was not the last of the defectors. A couple months after this, Geordie Innit, Filthy Fella mainstay, longtime friend of Poet, also switches allegiances. Now, this is very, very sinister for Poet, very dark for Poet, but incredible news for me. But this was clearly evidence that whatever caused the rift between Specs and Tigo, it wasn't as it made it seem, because actually after announcing his long-term deal to From My Left, Specs goes on a lot of podcasts and starts kind of throwing crazy allegations at Poet, saying that Poet was actually the one who has been misappropriating funds, and that for 70+ episodes of No Rules, he hasn't seen a single penny.
So now what happened, you know, with the situation at Filthy Fellas?
I was on it for 10 years, and then I had a show called No Rules Show, and then I realised that, oh, YouTube pay. So I asked the Poet, like, you've been getting paid for the last 10 years, where's my money? and he played Stevie Wonder. He said that he didn't know that money was going in his account.
Poet was a guy that I loved my whole life. I hate him now.
So clearly, Specs is laying the blame for financial mismanagement at Poet's feet. And in Specs' absence from the Filthy Fellas show, he did decide to like try to move No Rule Show onto his own independent channel. And I'm not gonna lie, like, he dropped a couple of videos, he dropped a couple of episodes. It didn't have that same magic, you know. There's certain essentials to a classic No Rules. You need the studio, you need Tigo, Specs, Dazza, Geordie. If you take anything from this video, yeah, please go and watch any No Rule show on the Filthy Fellas channel with Dazza in it, bro. When I tell you, these are some of the best videos ever uploaded. The one about the Jamaica holiday, bro, I think I've seen this video like over 200 times, bro. Every single line in this video is just pure gut, bro. It never gets old.
I wanted to trip up Lumos's mum, man. And I'm gonna trip up.
I say that, what?
No, but you know the trip ups where you trip them, you kick their foot, but you fall as well, and be like, sorry. Man, I see ya.
And I realized, like, this video is kind of exposing how much of a loser I am, because no one should ever care this much about podcasts, bro. Seriously, this is a very undateable trait that I'm revealing to the world, but this meant something to me, bro. And obviously Bouncer, he does address a lot of the Specs Poet stuff in his videos, but again, it's not really like, there's not really any substantial evidence of Poet stealing from Specs, or even Specs like doing wrong by Poet. So again, it's just kind of like he said kind of thing. And I mean, what can you say about that, you know? At this point in the video, I say we're kind of all caught up on all the drama, you know. From My Left and Filthy Fellas are now existing in their own lanes, and I feel like it's kind of unfair. Obviously people are going to compare them all the time, but it's kind of unfair. It's too soon to compare the shows, really, because obviously From My Left is like a brand new show. They have to start all over from scratch. Filthy Fellas, they're trying a lot of new stuff, you know. They have a Patreon now, they have a second channel, there's a lot of like new cast members, so it's too premature to like say who won, you know, which faction came out on top. I feel like we should at least give them like 5 years, you know. 2029, we can really see who won this beef. So now it really just comes down to like, who do you believe more, you know? Who do you feel like is more in the right than in the wrong? Because, you know, I'm sure both of these men have made wrong decisions. They've probably both done things that they regret, that they wish they could take back. Such is the curse of the human condition, you know. We're all fallible beings at the end of the day. On the one hand, you have Poet, and I feel like it is important to bring up that Poet is a very pivotal figure in the entire like UK football content ecosystem in the first place. Like, without him, honestly, it probably wouldn't exist as it does today. Some people wouldn't know this, but 15 years ago, football content on YouTube was like KSI doing faces that legally he can't talk about anymore. But Poet, alongside another pioneer, Vuj, they kind of created the first show that I would say resembles one of the like billions of shows we have today with comments below. Any people that subscribe to, you know, Darwin's theory of evolution, that we all came from, you know, like single-celled organisms billions of years ago. Well, if the UK football content world was an ecosystem, comments below is probably the first single-celled organism that, you know, developed into all these billions of shows. So yeah, Poet's impact should never be understated. That being said, however, Poet can also be a uniquely insufferable person at times. It has to be said. Like, it's kind of a feature of any video that Poet's in. Like, 80% of the comments will kind of be about how much people dislike Poet. But honestly, that's kind of the nature of being like an online personality. Poet can be very funny and in the same breath also go on to say like some of the dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life, but he'll deliver it like he's a genius. That's the thing. Someone will ask him a simple question and he will go on the most long-winded fake intellectual rant. Someone will be like, oh yeah, Poet, we're actually thinking to like order some food. Do you wanna get anything? Poet would be like,
see in our scene, yeah, you see in this industry, bro, that's the thing. A lot of guys, they try to do the commercial route. That's the thing. Who are you catering to if you're not catering to your own demographic? Because who do you represent to culture if you don't represent yourself for and by yourself? It stinks, Chucky.
And then of course you have Mr. Tigo Siegel, and I don't think it's controversial. A lot of Filthy Fellas fans will tell you that he is probably like the single most influential person on the show's success post-lockdown. Poet will even tell you himself, like, there's hundreds of tweets of Poet saying how important Tigo is to himself personally, how much of a friend he's been to him, and how important he's been to the show, you know. Tigo is someone, you know, I've watched a lot of like his podcasts or whatever. I've probably listened to him speak for like hundreds of hours. He's someone that he does come across as like well-informed. He seems like he has like good politics, but don't get it twisted. This is also someone who can be uniquely insufferable, bro. Seriously. Tigo has this disease that a few people I've known in my life also have. It's called can never be wrong-itis. It's a disease where you're physically incapable of ever admitting that you might be in the wrong. Because this man, Tigo, he absolutely sometimes displays fascistic tendencies. This guy, bro, the way he'll manipulate people, he'll like belittle, he'll talk down to them, he'll move the frame of the argument like 10 times to make sure that he comes across as like the intellectual superior. This is fascism. We have to be honest. I do think it is pretty funny how like the two people who are like undisputably the most important in the show's success is also the two people who like people kind of hate the most, bro. The comments on the first episode post Tigo's dismissal, bro, it's like people that just got freed from jail, bro. It's like literally that meme of like people reading the newspaper like Hitler's dead. That's what comes with being an online personality sometimes. Like, you're not really successful until you've got people who absolutely fucking hate you. And yeah, I'd say that about concludes the program for today. I hope you are all a little bit more informed. You know, ultimately, like, it's not really a thing about like winners and losers in this situation. Honestly, I feel like we're all kind of losers because we never really got to see the show fulfill its maximum potential. You know, it's sad, but you know, at the end of the day, that's life. It's more about the journey than it ever is about the destination. And honestly, what a journey it was. Like, as someone who in the past 5-6 years has been extremely prone to leg swinging, bro, I'm telling you, this show really got me through some tough times. So shout out everyone that was involved in the creation of this show. It's something that should always be celebrated. People never let this show go underappreciated. Actually, I was gonna add like some of my favorite Filthyfellas clips at the end of this video, but honestly, that would add like 2 hours onto this video. So, you know, the tapes are there, people. The tapes are there. All the videos are there. You can go and do your own research, as people say. But I'm telling you, this is the greatest show we've made, and you know, better to have loved and lost than to never have lost at all. And I think I forgot that.